My name is Marcia, and I'll never forget the day my mother-in-law, Vera, decided my daughter, Lily, wasn't real family. It was a pivotal moment that changed the course of our family dynamics forever. I'm standing in the middle of the wedding reception tent, the air thick with tension. Vera is standing by the head table, her face a mask of shock and disbelief. The room has gone deathly quiet as I look around at the faces of the guests, their expressions a mix of surprise and curiosity. It all started a few days before the wedding. I had just returned from a government assignment overseas. Vera, who has always been a controlling and opinionated woman, wasted no time in making her feelings known. She greeted me with a cold look and said, "Marcia, you're always off doing your government thing. Lily needs a mother at home." I've learned over the years that arguing with Vera is like hitting my head against a wall. It's a battle I can't win, so I usually just bite my tongue. But this time, her words stung. I love my daughter more than anything in the world, and I work hard to provide for her and give her a good life. The wedding reception was held at a beautiful lakeside lodge. The lawn was decorated with string lights, and a dance floor had been set up on the grass. There were about 80 guests in attendance, and the atmosphere was lively and festive. Lily, who is 7 years old, was excited to dance. She was wearing a yellow dress and brand new white shoes with little buckles. She looked like a little princess. As the second song started playing, she ran onto the dance floor and started spinning. She was having so much fun, and I couldn't help but smile. But then, out of nowhere, Vera appeared on the dance floor. She grabbed Lily's wrist and pulled her off the dance floor, saying, "No child of a soldier ruins my son's day. Get her out." I was in shock. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Lily was crying and holding her arm, and Vera was standing there, looking smug. I immediately ran over to Lily and dropped to my knees in front of her. I took her face in my hands and said, "Look at me, baby. I've got you." I could see that Lily's elbow was dislocated. I knew I needed to get her to the hospital right away. I picked her up and carried her towards the gate. Vera was still talking, trying to justify her actions, but I didn't even look at her. I was focused on getting Lily the help she needed. On the way to the car, Sam, my husband, caught up with me. He was torn between his mother and his daughter. He said, "Mom's really upset. Can't we just stay and talk this out?" I looked at him and said, "Your daughter's elbow is dislocated. I'm taking her to the hospital now." Sam eventually decided to stay at the reception to try and calm things down. I drove to the hospital with Lily in the back seat, her arm in a sling. At the hospital, the doctor examined Lily and confirmed that her elbow was dislocated. She was able to pop it back into place with a simple maneuver, and Lily was soon feeling better. But the doctor also told me that because an adult had caused Lily's injury, she was required by law to report it to the county child welfare office. I knew this was going to cause a lot of problems, but I also knew that it was the right thing to do. While I was waiting for Lily to be treated, I received a message from a cousin who was at the reception. She sent me a screenshot of a video that had been posted in the family group chat. It was a short clip of Vera grabbing Lily's wrist, but it had been edited to make it look like Lily was out of control. The caption read, "This is what happens when there's no discipline at home." I was furious. I knew that Vera was trying to turn the family against me, but I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I decided to go back to the reception and set the record straight. I drove back to the lodge and parked my car. I took a deep breath and walked into the tent. The first person I saw was Vera. She was standing by the bar, talking to a group of guests. When she saw me, her face turned pale. I walked up to her and said, "Vera, you need to stop spreading lies about me and Lily. You hurt my daughter, and you're going to have to face the consequences." Vera tried to defend herself, but I wasn't listening. I turned to the guests and said, "I want you all to know what really happened." Vera grabbed Lily's wrist and pulled her off the dance floor, causing her elbow to dislocate. This is not the behavior of a loving grandmother. As I was speaking, I noticed that a few of the guests were nodding in agreement. They could see the truth for themselves. Just then, a police officer walked into the tent. She introduced herself and said that she was there to collect statements from anyone who had witnessed the incident. I told her what had happened, and she wrote it down in her notebook. Vera started to panic. She realized that she was in trouble. She turned to Sam and said, "Tell her to stop this. This is all a misunderstanding." Sam looked at me and then at his mother. He finally said, "Mom, you were wrong. You hurt Lily, and you need to apologize." Vera's face fell. She knew that she had lost. She sat down in a chair and started to cry. I looked at her and said, "I'm not here to punish you, Vera. I just want you to understand that your actions have consequences. You can't just treat my daughter like this and expect to get away with it." I then turned to the officer and said, "I'm willing to cooperate with your investigation, but I don't want to see Vera alone with Lily until she has apologized and proven that she can be trusted." The officer nodded and said that she would take my request into consideration. Over the next few weeks, the County Child Welfare Office conducted an investigation. They interviewed me, Lily, Sam, and several witnesses. In the end, they decided that Vera's actions had been inappropriate, but they did not file any charges. Instead, they recommended that Vera attend counseling to address her anger issues. Vera agreed to the counseling, and she also sent Lily a card with a sincere apology. Things have been better between Vera and me since then. She has made an effort to be more respectful of me and Lily, and I have tried to forgive her for what she did. But I will never forget the day that she tried to take away my daughter's happiness. It was a wake-up call for me, and it taught me the importance of standing up for what I believe in. A few weeks after the wedding, I was making coffee in the kitchen when the second song came on the radio. Lily looked up from her cereal and said, "Mama, can I dance?" I smiled and said, "Of course, baby. You can dance anytime you want." Lily climbed down from her chair and started to dance in her white shoes. She spun and twirled, her hair flying behind her. She looked so happy and free. I watched her dance, and I felt a sense of peace wash over me. I realized that no matter what happens, I will always be there to protect my daughter. And I will never let anyone take away her happiness again. So, if you've ever been underestimated by the people who should have known you best, I want you to know that you're not alone. Stand up for yourself, and don't let anyone else define who you are. You are strong, and you are capable of achieving anything you set your mind to. If this story moved you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. And be sure to drop a comment and subscribe to my channel, Calm Drama Stories, where the quiet ones in the family finally get the last calm word and where dignity does the talking instead of volume.